left drama school, you joined a theatre company called 784, which is a sort of it's a left of centre, shall we say, theatre company. Yes. Theatre with a message.
Well, the 784 stands for 7% of the population own 84% of the wealth.
And did you go and work there because they offered you a job or because you had sympathy with the politics?
The former was the principal reason, because when you come out of drama school you just want a gig.
Yes.
But I was very happy to be working for them and very proud to be associated with a socialist theatre company, yes.
And you ended up, I don't know if this was one of your first jobs, but certainly when you were with them, you were touring the Highlands and Islands, taking Brecht to, was it a grateful public?
I think they were. I mean, I was just happy to have a job. And we were in this little van doing one-night stands all over Scotland.
Right.
And I thought it was a great production.
It was The Resistible Rise of Arturo Ui.
The Resistible Rise of Arturo Ui. Yeah, we all played 14 parts each.
Right. You don't think they would have preferred Hello Dolly then, or something to sort of cheer them up?
I don't know. To be honest, the Highlands and Islands of Scotland are always getting socialist theatre. They certainly were then.
Whether they like it or not.
Whether they liked it, it was good for them, you see.
With their salty porridge,
That's what you do in Scotland. You do things that are good for you.
And as you personally sort of checked into another B&B with the peeling formica and the PVC shower curtain, didn't you think there must be more to life than this?
Oh, no, this was it.
Was it?
I was working as an actor. I was getting, I think I got 200 quid a week, 180 quid a week I think it was. And that was more money than I'd ever known. It was sensational. I couldn't have been happier. I would still happily be working for them now.
Okay, and you were only 22 when you played a transsexual barmaid in Rab C. Nesbitt. I'm wondering...
Was I only 22?
I worked it out.
Right.
Yes, you were only 22. What did they make of that back at the Manse?
Oh, I think they thought it was hilarious.
Did they?
Yeah. Rab C. Nesbitt was a big favourite of my dad's anyway.
Right.
Well, also because it was a big popular TV programme. That was the first time I'd been in something that was part of popular culture, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah. And what about, did they come and see you when you were once naked on stage, apart from a police helmet? I'm not sure where the helmet was.
The police helmet wasn't even always on either, no, that's true, they did. They came and saw that.
Fine with that?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I remember...
By the tone of your voice, I don't think so.
Well, I remember the night they were in. I'd sort of not really focused on that moment until just before it came. I thought, oh, this is suddenly a little embarrassing.
And what was the play?
What the Butler Saw, Joe Orton, at the National Theatre. It was the first time I'd worked at the National. So it was very exciting that they were coming to see that. I do remember my mum afterwards saying, oh, I haven't seen that since you were a little boy. So I think they had a sense of humour about it.
And by that time then, I mean, you are describing a career that's on the right trajectory. You know, it's on the way up. You're saying you're in the National Theatre. You'd started off in 784. You'd started to get television work. And yet, I mean, you would have been... I don't know, would you quite have been 30 when you were still renting a bedroom in a friend's house? And
I think I probably was, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did that feel fine to you? Did it all feel worthwhile?
I think maybe I had bought my first flat, actually, by the time I was 30.
Okay.
But I maybe wasn't earning a lot of money, but I was earning enough to get by. So I've never starved. I had no particular need for more material goods.
What about going into somewhere like the National? I mean, did you feel as you walked through its doors it was like a sort of footballer walking through Chelsea or Man U doors?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. We had Richard Wilson in our play, who was, still is one of the biggest stars in the country. But yeah, you're in the green room and there's Michael Gambon over there and there's Judi Dench over there, and it's the most exciting thing.
Let's have some music. Tell me what's next.
I applied myself to thinking about this, and I thought, if I'm on a desert island, I'd need to have something of the spoken word going on. And this is probably my favourite of all time. I remember listening to this on headphones on the train from Scotland to London and biting my fist and crying with laughter. So this would cheer me up and also just keep me sane on the desert island.
Then they beam down to an oval of gravel with 6 big rocks at the back. Every week. Oh, Captain, strong deja vu here. And they get out those machines. Wheelie wee, 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 wheelie wee. Captain, this entire planet is made of wheelie wee. And so you, Captain, and Chekhov and Sulu and Ahura and everything we've ever thought of is widdly wee. I think this might just be a box with widdly wee written on it.
That was Eddie Izzard's musings about life on board the Starship Enterprise from his 1994 show. So, David Tennant, of course the Doctor overwhelms any conversation about your career, but it is important to remember that you have played to very significant critical acclaim lots of other great parts too. Casanova for BBC Three was one of them. Was that your big step up into television, do you think, when people really became aware of you?
It didn't feel like it to me. Everything's always felt a bit more gradual, I think, when you're inside it than maybe it does subjectively.
It was a beautiful piece of television.
It was fantastic. Well written by Russell T Davies.
Yes.
That was when I first met him, and it I suppose in a way became my extended audition for Doctor Who, although I didn't realise it at the time.
You were quite an unconventional choice for Casanova.
What are you saying, Kirsty? That there are better looking choices?
There are enough women throwing themselves at your feet that I feel I can confidently say that you wouldn't necessarily have been
I didn't think
everyone's
I had a chance.
choice. Right?
I didn't think I had a chance, no.
Yes.
But they weren't looking for the kind of Lothario Casanova. They were
Yes.
looking for the puppy dog version of Casanova, who wooed women through his joie de vivre. I was thrilled to get the part because the script was so fantastic. There was something about Russell's dialogue that I just wanted to consume, and I suppose if anything got me the part, it was probably a kind of feel for his rhythm, which I just adore.
And did you then, when you started to talk to Russell T Davies, when you were on set, is that when he began to understand that you and he shared, because he was a dedicated Doctor Who fan, did you sort of swap your Doctor Who's?
Yes, absolutely, quite freely, because I knew he was making Doctor Who at the same time.
Right.
So I was just quizzing him on how it was going and trying to get a part. I wasn't for a minute thinking, oh, he'll cast me as the next Doctor.
Right.
And honestly, I wouldn't necessarily have wanted him to either. I remember when he asked me to do it. It's a big deal because it's such a big thing. It has such a huge reach and impact in people's consciousness that inevitably it's very difficult to move away from. That's not me saying I want to, but you do feel like the first line of the obituary has been written.
Of
when
course,
you take on a part like that.
When you were cast then, were there must have been surely thousands of words on chat rooms devoted to whether they'd made the right choice or the wrong choice. Did you bother to read any of that stuff?
Of course I did, because I was new to it. So I didn't realise how foolhardy that would be.
Can you remember the worst and the best of what was said?
You don't remember the best, of course.
Of course.
Because that's human nature, isn't it?
Yes.
But people saying, oh, I'd much rather have someone else. This is terrible. This is an awful choice. Of course that hurt. And again, because I was invested in it as a child, it hurts your 8-year-old self, and that's quite hard to get over. Thanks, Christopher.
It's an interesting phrase, I think, purely entertaining.
Yes, it's not. It might not entirely be a good thing. I don't know what he was suggesting. We'd need to see the review in context. But it's not entirely a bad thing, because I think there's a lot of Hamlet that's very funny. And I think there's a lot of Hamlet, the man, that is very entertaining, because, again, he's so bright.
Yes.
And he's the brightest person in the room, and he can run rings around everybody. And that's entertaining to witness, especially if, as an audience, you're enlisted on his side, which I think you are in the play.
But you did have very good reviews. Do you read, or does your dad read your
Certainly
reviews?
Certainly not at the time, no.
Right.
You only need to be kicked in the face a couple of times to know how much it takes out of you.
And what about the people that were coming to see you, of course? Because I imagine a good proportion of the audiences were made up of people who were fans of yours because of the television work you do. Did that change things? Do you notice that it's not a typical theatre crowd? I
didn't particularly. I think certain people were nervous of that. I think there was conversations being had at the Royal Shakespeare Company and elsewhere that there might be people sitting in the front row dressed as Cybermen, but that's perhaps not giving enough credit to the intelligence of Doctor Who fans, actually. Right. I think people who like that show tend to be quite bright. There's a degree of criticism for that sort of casting. I'm not talking precisely about you being cast in Hamlet, because obviously you'd been at the Royal Shakespeare Company, you'd been at the National Theatre, you had done the background work, but there are people, people like Jonathan Miller, no less, who say that they hate this obsession that there seems to be, particularly in the West End, with celebrity casting. Do you think there is a danger that it will undermine the work of actors who otherwise would be getting those parts? I think it's ever been thus, to be honest. As you pointed out, the RSC is something had always been part of my life. I'd done a couple of seasons there, several shows. So me going back there felt to myself like a natural thing to do, to go back to the RSC and to get to play that role there was something I'd aspired to long before I'd been involved in any television stuff. Now, I suppose the RSC are maybe more interested in having me because they might sell more tickets because I've been in Doctor Who, but I don't think the RSC would have me just because of that. Sure. What's your next disc then? This is from someone who's a stand-up, really. He does brilliant, incredibly intelligent comedy songs. The 2 times I've seen him live, he's finished the set with this. And it starts off as a sort of, what seemed to be a sort of funny song, but then just becomes a kind of a very simple, heartfelt ballad to the importance of family, actually. And both times I've seen it, it's left me in floods of tears. I mean, it's not written about my family, but it makes you think about your own family. It makes you realise how important they are. And I think that's something I come to terms with as I get older, just how important they are. And I feel, my mum's gone now, but I feel very fortunate to have had the upbringing that I've had and to have had the family around me that I've had. And then to see the next generation of our family growing up and to feel so proud of them. So this makes me think of that.
I'll be seeing my dad, my brother and sisters, my gran and my mum. They'll be drinking white wine in the sun. I'll be seeing my dad, my brother and sisters, my gran and my mum. They'll be drinking white wine in the sun.
And white wine in the sun, all about the importance of family. You talked about the importance of family going into that. Are you an uncle now?
I'm an uncle several times, yeah.
Right.
I'm an uncle 5 times.
Must be amazing having Doctor Who for an uncle.
I guess so. You'd have to ask them. But yeah, I think the family have enjoyed it, the slight craziness. They've also had to put up with a bit as well, for which I apologise. But it's been fun.
Your mother had time to enjoy your success. Did she talk to you about it?
Yeah, she did, and it was lovely. I mean, it was lovely just because she was thrilled by it. I mean, at times slightly too thrilled. You know, she'd be very willing to invite the Daily Mail journalists in and give them tea, which was at times slightly frustrating for me, who was trying to hold on to some kind of public enigma. But she was proud, and that was lovely.